All right, good afternoon. It's 3:01. I want to make sure we stay true to our timing. As I always comment, it's great to see the folks in the room here and also to hear the continued buzz of those connections. That's why we're here. So thank you all for being here today. Wanted to request David's support to open us up in prayer, and then we're gonna have a good meeting. Hopefully, less time with me up here. I've been up here enough this week, and more time with folks here. So, David.
All right, let's have a word of prayer. Okay. Dear God, you are our Creator, our source of life and love and purpose. Thank you for this day, for the air that we breathe, the warmth of the sunshine, the rich colors of the nature that surrounds us, the presence of friends and neighbors sitting near us, reminding us that we're not alone, and the opportunity to gather for this meeting of minds and hearts. As we gather, we acknowledge that there are agendas to address today. Whether they are the agendas on the screen or elsewhere, there is an agenda to guide us through this next hour or so. And we're blessed to have those who apply forethought in developing these plans to ensure that we're aware of what's transpiring in our community. And so give clarity of thought and speech to each one who's assigned a part on the agenda today. And we thank you for the role that each one has in the life of Growing Green. Help us to remain focused then as we walk through today's agenda. Yet there are other agendas present in the room as we each bring with us some level of an objective for being here. For some, the agenda is quite simple. It's just a single bullet point reminding them to listen attentively, absorb the information, and assess for themselves how it benefits them and how it benefits the larger community. So we pray for clarity not only in the sharing of information, but also in the hearing. We know how often there can be a disconnect between what's said and what is heard, so today we ask for enhanced communication. For others, they may bring an agenda with an intent to be sure that certain things are discussed or certain assurances are offered. There may be some who come with presuppositions with an intent to find confirmation that they're correct, or there may be concerns or questions, and folks are seeking solutions and answers. And so insofar as is possible, Lord, we seek understanding today. There's still yet one more agenda beyond the one set for the meeting and above any that we as individuals may have brought with us, and that is your agenda, which supersedes all others. You said through the prophet Jeremiah, I know the plans I have for you, plans to give you a future and a hope. And so we acknowledge that you have a purpose for this day and even for this very meeting, and we praise you for that. If in any way any other agenda does not align with yours, draw us back into alignment. Lift our eyes to seek you first today and always, relinquishing our need to control, to garner attention, to be known, or to assert an agenda for the sake of the agenda alone. Shift our perspective to seek your peace above all else. And in this time, grant us wisdom, O Lord, and let your peace rain down on us today as we seek you more than anything else. Hear our prayer, O Lord. Amen.
Good afternoon. I'm excited to have Danielle up here with me. Most of you know her. She's a familiar face. She is the transportation supervisor, so we waited patiently and we got her, which we're very excited about. So she started about a week and a half ago. So she has big shoes to fill, but she's doing it already feels like she's been here longer than a week and a half because she's filled them greatly. So just want to introduce her. Danielle started out in the dining room when it was in here 6 years ago. She told me just now that she started as her first job as a summer job and was just going to be here a little bit, and here we are 6 years later.
Because of you all, I love you all.
So yeah, so we're excited. So we wanted to tell you about a new process we're rolling out recently with requesting transportation. We've always done, you call in to Danielle's number, but we wanted to also offer an email now. So we will pass these out so you can continue to call, but if you like to do email or you're tech savvy, you can email this email. It goes to Danielle and I both, and we will write back to you with confirmation that we have it. We will still call you the day before to remind you of the appointment and confirm, but we'll confirm with you email. So the phone's not going away, just another option for you to email those transportation requests. So we'll get you all of these out. And then also I wanted to let you know the portal. We have an app on the portal now. Amy set us up, so we have a little app that says the clinic when you go onto your portal screen. And we're excited to have all kinds of documents that are handy to you. In your time, we'd love for you to look at them. If you feel like there's a document that would be beneficial or a question, we would love to add those. I also wanted to point out, we have worked very hard on a clinic handbook. We worked on this quite a while, so I'm excited to finally share it with you. We have uploaded it to the portal. If you would like a paper copy, we could always get you one. But it's everything about the clinic services we offer, when we have lab, when we have the hearing specialist. So just a good go-to guide for the clinic. And I also put on there the email on our portal where you can email transportation as well. So thank you so much, and we're excited to have Danielle.
Judy, you want to come up?
Have to wiggle the cord and hold our heads just right, because I definitely need something up on the screen for sure. It's so nice to be with y'all again. I have been here 3 months, 2 weeks, and a few hours as of today. I don't quite meet the tenure of some of the staff and some of the residents here, but I'm working on it. It's taken me a while, but we are getting a lot of things accomplished. Ryan has started to make my job not fun. He's giving me work to do. And as a fundraiser, we really do look for fun a lot in that title. I'm just going to share with you a variety of some of the things we've been working on. We have gotten a new software program for our donors. Thanks to this lovely lady over here, Lindsay. She has been tracking for 7-8 years on an Excel spreadsheet. And so now we have it where it's very functional and very easy to be used. We're working on getting a donate button put on the webpage so that the residents can donate to Rolling Green Village from the comfort of your home, which I'm so excited about that. We are creating some new forms, and that's why we don't have anything on the portal right now. We're trying to make everything on one sheet of paper so you don't have to go through a variety of paper to make a donation. We're also going to get our own icon for the portal. So hopefully all that's going to be rolled out in a couple of weeks. I'm working on a fund development newsletter that will be sent out quarterly. And I'm finishing up some loose ends with the dog park. So hopefully that project is going to be completely finished and put to rest for sure. There, I have some information I've created to share with outside people about Rolling Green Village in regards to fundraising. And one of the main first facts is, did you know that Rolling Green Village is a 501c3? It is a nonprofit in its own right. It's very interesting. The majority of the people in the community, they don't know that. So we're educating people as we go along. You know, the definition of a nonprofit is created for the beneficial purposes rather than to make a profit, so that any of the funds raised at Rolling Green Village will go back in to Rolling Green Village. In the U.S., nonprofits are granted tax-exempt status, And typically donations that are made to the nonprofits get a tax deductible level of some type, depending on the type of nonprofit that you're donating to. In 1979, Rolling Green Village applied, and at that time it was called Greenville Baptist Retirement Community. And in '79 they applied to become a nonprofit, and they received the status from IRS, and they were known as the Greenville Baptist Retirement Community up until the year 2009. And in 2009, the name was changed to Rolling Green Village with the IRS. And so we have kept the same EIN number with the IRS since it was incorporated, but it has changed its names. There's several little key points for a nonprofit. One is the mission of the nonprofit, and it has to contribute or benefit some group, some organization, something. And these points are made and come from the IRS. It's not just a group of people who have evaluated it, but this is the big boys that evaluate nonprofits. You can receive donations from individuals, you can receive donations from corporations, as well as government entities. You have to qualify by the IRS to be a tax-exempt nonprofit, which Rolling Green Village is. We have that qualification. And then you have to file a 990 instead of a regular tax return that you do at your home. You have to file a 990, which some days can be a little difficult. If you want to ask Sean about that, she probably would agree for sure. We can get funding from Rolling Green from revenue comes from the residents' fees. But then we can also get funding from individuals, churches, and corporations, as well as grants or foundation. And getting funding from all four of these sources makes for the organization to really be stable. Now, there are several categories that residents and your families can donate to here at Rolling Green. And we will go quickly through these. The first one is the General Gifts Fund. Now, the General Gifts Fund is an unrestricted account. You can donate to that, and then the executive director gets the opportunity to decide what is really needed for the organization and to use those funds in accordance with what the needs are. Nonprofits love to get undesignated money because it allows for the management to know that there's a issue or a problem coming up, and they're able to funnel those funds to the right area that needs funding. The second category is the resident and staff life, and I'm sure some of you are very familiar with this. These are things you see around campus, such as benches, materials for activities. Now, we are looking at hopefully getting a tandem bicycle for Evergreen Place, or possibly a magic table for Evergreen Place. So sometimes there can be more expensive articles that need for certain areas. One of my goals is that for the staff, we can set up some endowment funds that we can fund the staff for scholarships for a year, and hopefully it would enable Rolling Green Village to be really a place people would want to work because the organization is helping them succeed and grow in their education. The third category is the community enhancements. Now, sometimes with community enhancements, it's a joint project. Operations funds might pay half, and donations fund would pay the other part of it. For example, the dog park was done that way. Rolling Green Village operational funds paid for half of it, and the donations paid for the other half. The next fund is the chaplain's fund, and when I used to teach, I always told my staff about fundraising that the best fundraiser in the world was your preacher. They got up every Sunday morning, they had a captive audience, and then they passed the plate for money. So, and our chaplain here does pretty well with his funds, but his funds are designed to supplement outside projects that he needs for something that the budget might not be designed to pay for in a certain year. The next to last category is the Rolling Green Village Residents Assistance Fund. And this is the fund who will help Rolling Green residents who are not able to continue paying for their monthly fees based on unforeseen circumstances. And if you're not heard about that, or you want to know more about it, I'm sure you can set up a time and discuss that with Ryan. And of course, the last area is planned giving. Now, planned giving usually involves wills, real estate, life insurance, property, cars. Since working here, I've often thought, if Hope and Mildred Smith had not made the first planned giving donation, where do you think Rolling Green Village would be today? Because by them giving of their land, it started the whole process going, and it was a planned giving gift. I'm available for questions, conversations anytime you want to come by. My office is right near Amy's, just down the hall before you get to the kitchen. And I would love to meet a lot more people. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. Everybody's throwing me off today, I'm sorry. I didn't see Judy hiding over there, so she was next. And then Bruce had a red coat on earlier, now he's in a yellow shirt, so he's throwing me off there too. So Bruce, you ready?
I feel the need to expand on the story. I did come to work in this shirt this morning, and I was walking in the kitchen, and then one of the cooks said, "Hey, you've got something on your shirt, your collar," and some grease had dropped off the hood, and it hit me in the collar. So I have a backup chef coat that I always keep because this happens every month or so that my shirts get dirty. So there's the story. Okay. Judy was saying she's been here for however much time. Danielle's been here a certain amount of time. I've been here for a little while too. I've been here for 16 years, 3 weeks, and 2 days. I had time to calculate all this while I'm sitting. Okay. All right, I just wanted to go over a variety of things. Ron and I have talked about this. He told me to tone it down. I had way too much stuff, and I thought he gave me 2 hours, but I think he said I had 10 minutes. But nonetheless, so I'm going to consolidate a little bit. All right, I wanted to give you an update on the reservations. As many of you know, we are now on our portal Touchtown, and it's going very well. It took a while to get up to speed on it, and there's still a few glitches here and there, but in general, it's working very well. As it works, everyone that knows that we take reservations for all lunch and dinner meals for operational reasons, but for the most part, we see between 15 and 20 people every 20 minutes. We have opened up 8 of those seats for every 15-minute time period for the reservations on the Touchtown. So again, I think that's working well. We started with less than that. We've slowly opened it up, and over time, as needs presented, we'll open up more. Now, if you try to make a reservation on Touchtown and it says it's full, it is for those 8 spots, but it might not be completely full, so you can still also call in and talk to other dining room managers that's around and about, and they can let you know if there's anything available. So FYI on that. And as always, you can still use the phone option. You can walk in as well and make your reservations. We still have about 15 to 20% of the folks that don't do very well with making reservations. They tend to just walk in, and that does create logistical challenges for us. But we deal with it. You know, we will always make sure that everyone that comes in to eat will be fed. It just does make it harder. Again, the reservations are to ensure we don't have what's known as compressed dining, where everyone comes in at the same time. Because if we didn't, y'all would come in for lunch around 12:15, and at dinner you'd come in around 5:30, 5:45, and we'd get crushed every day. That wouldn't go well for y'all. It wouldn't go well for us as well. So that's why we do it. Next, we've over the last month or so, we've had a lot of big events. We've had Mother's Day, we've had Labor Day, and we just wrapped up Father's Day. And what did I say? I apologize. I even have it written down. Okay. You know what I mean. Okay, you got me. All right. But we increased meals served over each one of those events by about 15 to 25% over the previous year. I mean, I tracked all sorts of numbers, and it's pretty impressive to see it. I mean, this is a good thing. This means that y'all appreciate what we do, and you're bringing your family and friends, and we're just doing more and more of it. So I thought that's just great. I think people like to know about business as far as volume. You can kind of relate to the way things are going. But another neat thing that I'm going to mention as far as large events, we're about to have another large event. Actually, before I get to that, tonight with the ribs, we're going to probably go over 200 meals served for dinner for the first time ever at a Monday through Friday event. So we're making sure we have plenty of ribs. And with ribs, you need barbecue beans, so they were making some extra when I was leaving. But a week from tomorrow, we're going to feature with our regular menu a lobster tail event. It's going to be they're going to be 8 to 10 ounce tails, and again, so it'll be next Friday, June 28th. So please make sure you make reservations. All right. Just while we're on the numbers theme, this year for the entire community, we're averaging around 22,200 meals per month. That's around 750 meals a day. So that's pretty busy. Just to put it in perspective, last year, which was the busiest year we'd ever had, we were averaging 20,364 meals per month. So we're up almost 2,000 meals a month. And then the next busy, this one would have been the previous year, 2022, when we're averaging a whopping 17,000. So we're averaging about 5,000, a little over 5,000 more meals a month than we were 2 years ago. So we're getting busy. I think on a really positive note, I mean, again, we all had to deal with and work through COVID, and there's the trials and tribulations of that, but I really feel like my staff's really gotten much better at things. The volume that we used to look at each other and think, wow, how would you do this? This is just normal for us now. And I'm really proud of my staff. So I just thought I'd mention those numbers to you. Something that many residents have mentioned to me over the last few years is about the carryover of meal credits at the end of the year. Right now, as we all know, you can carry over 200 meals per month. Never more than that, but you can carry up to 200 meals, and at the end of the year, you would lose those up to 200, then we'd start all over fresh. There's been much discussion, and really a couple of months ago, we decided to go ahead and do away with that, so that if you have 200 credits at the end of December of this year, you'll have those 200 plus the additional 310 for January. So it's been that way. We established it a couple months ago. So that's why you spoke a few more times, and we listened. All right. Another change that's in the process, in the works, it doesn't affect a lot of people, but it does affect some folks. And those that eat lunch in the dining room Monday through Friday, that want to be those early bird lunch eaters to come in around 11 o'clock, the general theme is you tend to get to wait for the food and beverage staff to finish what we call a food review and shift lineup, so we can discuss what the food is that's rotating each day. We can look at it, see it, try it, and then we can talk about other stuff that we like to talk about prior to attending to y'all. And we tend to get a late start for the folks that have 11 o'clock reservations. So what the intent was, on effective July 8th, which would be a Monday, would be to switch it, the 11 o'clock seating to 11:15 as our first seating, so we can actually have time to get through all this. Now you can say, well, why don't you just do the stuff you do earlier? It's all about getting the to-go orders squared away, and it's, you know, there's some other things behind the scenes that just trust me, it's probably the best thing for everyone, and it affects such few people that it really shouldn't make a difference. Any questions on that? Good. All right. All right. And the last thing I wanted to discuss is department change. You know, we've had a variety of change. I'll be honest with you, some of the trials and tribulations of coming to the new building and then shortly thereafter jumping right into COVID has been a challenge. My dining room manager position has been my greatest challenge, and Claudia, who's standing over there, who's been with us for a couple and a half years, was promoted to the dining room management position a couple of months ago, and she clearly is the right person for the job. She's a promote from within. I felt she had potential back when we were trying to work through some other people to see if they have what it takes, which I'm just being honest, they didn't. She clearly does, and I'm very proud to have her as the dining room manager, and she's got great support with Joey standing to her left and with a couple other dining room managers, assistant managers as well. I've got a great team. I feel they are very visible on the dining room floor. They're the face of food and beverage in independent living, and I'm very proud to have both Claudia and Joey with us. I did still have 30 minutes more worth, but Ryan did suggest I was going to have to tone it down. So what we'll do is we can open up to some questions for a few minutes. And do you have any questions? Yes?
A compliment. I assume you're responsible. Last night, the dinner, the fruit of the day was
fresh
blueberries,
and fresh.
Fresh blueberries, fresh strawberries.
Yes.
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 The night before, it was fresh blackberries and fresh pineapple, and our waitress told us that the policy is you're going to try as long as there's fresh fruit available. It was delightful. I don't think there's any place in America that has fresh.
Did everyone hear that? There's no place in America, probably the world. Right. Thank you.
Give her a tip.
We'll talk later. The intent is to, while the summer season allows us to get the fresh fruit, we will do that as much as possible. And so you're welcome. To everyone. Yes.
Quality of the food and also the pleasantness of all of the service. They are all so polite and so pleasant. It's a joy to eat dinner here and lunch here.
I'll give you your $5 after this. Thank you.
You might want to say something about your suggestion box. A lot of people don't know about it, but that's a very nice thing. And you do say, and how would you resolve this or whatever?
We do have a suggestion box in the dining room. And if you're leaving the dining room and you're looking at the hostess stand to the left, it'll be on a post just to the right of it, right by where the display menu is. And it's there, it's been there for a couple months, so that if you've got a suggestion, there's a little pad there, and I'm not doing this to this.
It does it sometimes.
All right, but and a pen or a pencil so that you can write your comments. Please, if you want someone to reach out to you, it's important though that you leave a name. And not all of you want to leave your name. That's fine. Some are just comments. So if you have a comment, put it in there, and either I or one of my staff will reach out to you and let you know what we can do.
This is another compliment. I want to thank Joey for staying late and fixing such great milkshakes because it's a stay for the movie on Wednesday night.
The other day I was in my neighborhood and the ice cream guy was in there. I swear I thought it was Joey.
I'm going to echo that feedback. Everybody raves about Joey's, you could say, craftsmanship, the ice cream, and then I hear we've also added popcorn to the menu, right?
We have added popcorn to the menu.
For Wednesday night. So.
For those, who was over here back when this used to be the dining room? Yeah, remember we used to have the popcorn just outside there for many years? Well, it's come back. All right. Thank you.
So Bruce did have a pretty lengthy list. I told him he can come back and visit again next month. But I didn't want him to overtake too much of the time so we could have some good discussion. But his team is doing a really great job. 22,000 meals is a lot. We're grateful to have a shift in staffing and find better people and keep those folks here. So we do know turnover is hard. We do know that those relationships are built. And we've been working through that for years, and it's hard to see people leave because we do know that some people do move on. But I do feel that the folks that are here will continue to focus on that relationship and also do a great job as well. So, speaking of people that are here in different roles, Danielle talked about her role. I don't know if folks knew, but her little brother just joined the team on the food and beverage staff, so that's neat to see. And again, appreciate Danielle, all the things that she's done, working a couple different roles here at Rolling Green. Excited for her to continue to grow again. I do appreciate Judy giving some feedback and discussion today. She kind of hid from me over there. So, wanted to make sure that we also had a chance to recognize another new staff member here, and her name is Emily Pitts, and she's in the back corner there. Would you mind standing up and saying hello? Emily is our new personal trainer. So as folks know that Katie had her baby and decided to stay home, but she's still going to help us out, PRN. Well, Emily is that new person to step into the role, and we're excited to have her on the team and have her to get started. So maybe once she's a little bit more accustomed, I think this is her second day? Fourth day. We'll let her get her feet underneath her, and then we can have her come up and talk a little bit more about her first few days and her experience. So thank you for being here, Emily. Can we go ahead? I only have 9 slides, just so you're aware, so I'm going to try to run through these. I'd like to start off and talk about the last month from a financial perspective, and we do continue to see great results, particularly on our revenue side. So we are exceeding our budgeted goals in independent living apartments, cottages, patio homes. Within our health center, we're exceeding those goals, and within our memory care and assisted living areas, we're also exceeding those goals. Evergreen Place has been that one setting that we've not been able to meet goals in years past, but we're exceeding those goals now. By a little bit, but we're still doing it. So that's great to see. So we exceeded our operating revenues by about $182,000 above what we had planned. That's in the far right column here. Now on the expense side, we did also exceed those, which is not good. That's in red. We are seeing increasing costs, and we're seeing some areas where our staffing has been a challenge. And the health center continues to be a focus on reducing our temporary staff usage. So we do see second shift and third shift being a challenge since COVID. There's less folks that are wanting to work those odd hours. We are also having difficulties finding certified nursing assistants. We've hired quite a few nurses in the last few months. We've actually been able to hire more registered nurses, which is great. So if we can flip a position from LPN into RN, because RNs are difficult to find, we'll do that because of the complexity of the folks that we have here. So we are seeing a little bit higher costs within the health center. We are seeing a little bit higher wage costs within food and beverage, as we talked about the extra meals that we are serving and some overtime costs there. We're also expensing the upcoming website change for right now, and hopefully towards the end of this year we can change that into a capital expenditure. But that is a pretty significant cost that we incurred over this past month. But we are thankful to have the revenues exceed those expenses. The net operating income for the month of May was $242,719, so we exceeded our goal by $28,901. And that's, again, the 5th month in a row that we're exceeding those goals month over month. It's great to continue to have that momentum. We do have 3 apartment move-ins in July. So we had quite a few in May and a little bit in beginning of June, but we do have 3 more apartment move-ins in July. But we do see this momentum continuing. We're very grateful to have that wait list in independent living. So when an apartment does come open, we have a wait list that we work through, and within 30, 60, 90 days, we're able to move folks in. Probably closer to 60 or 90, because when we call folks, they need to sell their home and work out those logistics. But it doesn't take us too long to have somebody that's going to backfill an open apartment or an open cottage. I'm going to move forward. All right, I want to give an update. Probably the biggest news to share, which I shared a little bit earlier in this week at the resident town hall, was back on May 23rd, our board of directors did approve us to move forward with our phase 2 project plans. We continue to have great momentum with a priority wait list, exceeding 100. So that next step, once we were able to finish our design and construction, was to stop and pause and ask that question of should we move forward. So the board did approve us moving forward into sales. Now, what does that process look like from here? So July 8th, we're going to start our sales process. We talked about it a little bit earlier this week. That moves folks from giving us a $1,000 check to then giving us a 10% deposit, so 10% of the total cost of the unit that they choose. So that's a much bigger commitment. So this is also another checkpoint to make sure that folks are truly committed to wanting to be here and changing that commitment level. So the sales team is going to be sitting down with all the folks on that 100-person list and going through those units and then giving that person a chance to decide. So we will see, based upon the cost of the units which we just shared this week, how committed they are. And we'll see how this process will continue to move forward. For us to do this next phase, it's an additional $4 million that we're going to spend from now until the end of 2025. So that's continued focus on sales effort, continued focus on architects to continue refined planning, and also continued focus on construction design documents as well. So all of these things are going to continue to move forward with planning until we get to the end of next year. At that point would be that next checkpoint to determine if the market is there, if we have enough commitments. What we're looking for is 70%, 70, of all of the units we're planning to build to be pre-sold there with that 10% deposit. So that's right around 90 units we're going to need to make sure we have those commitments on. And a lot of this can change. Some folks change their mind. That's okay. It's fully refundable. Some folks may have a health issue that forces them to change their mind, and that's okay too. Some folks may say this isn't for me after thinking about it, writing that check. So there is a fluid process. You do see some ups and downs. We did experience that with phase 1. We also experienced COVID with phase 1, and we were able to be successful with this, with phase 1. And we feel confident that phase 2 is going to be successful as well. And again, I want to refresh on that primary reason as we had the strategic discussions, is we've got to fix assisted living and create a setting that folks really want to be in and are not sacrificing the way they have for a number of years. So the pre-sales process begins coming up here in the next few weeks. We're excited to get that started. We did have a grand reveal event yesterday to share some of those floor plans. We'll be sharing those floor plans and pricing with you all as well in the coming days. But we will be continuing with this process, and we're excited to move forward. So the second point there, we did have the town halls. If you did not get a chance to come, you can see a copy of the slide deck presentation on the portal. And our commitment to increasing our communication, we wanted to bring out the architect team. So they were here this week, Amy Taft and Richard Kiley with SFCS. And there was some great resident participation and questions, particularly from Terry in the back, around how everything has come together, and we do appreciate that. So with the next resident town hall meeting, which will likely be September, October, we're looking to invite HJ Sims, that's the investment banking professionals that we work with, to help you all understand from a high level how do these types of financings work. So right now we're working through an interim financing question with HJ Sims to determine how we're going to be funding this next period of growth between now and the end of 2025. And then HJ Sims is going to also guide us on that long-term funding, which we're looking at hopefully securing at the end of 2025. We're also hopeful the financial markets will maybe improve and interest rates will come down just a little bit. And that will also help us with our projected pro forma models that we've already put in place. We do put together very conservative approaches, and right now the current funding rate, I think Lucas indicated a little bit earlier, was I think 6.5% or 7% of an interest rate, but we still have a lot of things to work through and a lot of other conversations between now and the end of next year to make that happen. If you want to move forward. Thank you. The construction cost did come in higher than we had planned. The initial plans were a $121 million project, and it came in at $140. That's a difference for sure. We want to make sure that you understand anytime we do a project like this, which we did in phase 1, that this project would stand on itself, on its own. So the debt that we take out is going to be serviced by those new revenues coming in. There is also a component of entrance fees that are placed down to cover the short-term debt right after this were to open and as folks move in. We do anticipate having contingencies within that $140 million. There's also other types of allowances that we have. There's escalation costs. So it is a pretty big number. But that's why we work with our investment banking firm. That's why we work with the project managers to truly do the due diligence and understand how all this can work. And again, making sure that the new debt that we take out is going to be covered by the new revenues that come in. I want to make sure you're all aware also there's a small group of folks on the resident expansion committee. We visited a little bit earlier today to go through quite a few other questions that were really good questions. I share folks' concern to make sure, are we going to be successful when we do something like this? Nobody has all the answers, but we do feel confident in these next steps with phase 2. We had some good open discussion, and we'll make sure that presentation with the information I shared with them is also available to folks in the room on the resident portal. You can go to the next one, please. The Wellness Center pool, Skip can answer some of those questions, but we are planning to begin that in July. So we're shifting gears away from phase 2, just some overall campus improvements. So that will be early July. We'll get you some more information on exactly when. And we're extremely hopeful that it will not be out of commission for too long, but it is going to be under repairs. We're looking at a full reconstruct from the ceiling down to the flooring to bring that pool back to better condition after 12 years. RGV curb appeal, we've been working on that in recent months. Want to make sure folks were aware we did remove some boulders at the front entrance that are in the rock area on the right. We've also done some new grass planting. I think that wasn't as successful as we wanted, as I'm looking at Skip. But the area that we had taken down, or that a resident taken down some trees, we wanted to make sure that grass does eventually grow in and it looks consistent with the rest of the grass at the front entrance of Garlington. So they're going to have to go back and do some more grading and smoothing it out to make it look better. But it's a start, moving it away from just dirt and weeds into actually having some grass up there. And then the back gate is also in the process of being repainted. That was some resident feedback that I've received over a couple months, but that's close to being finished. The Lakeside Sidewalk, we've talked about that recently. Back on June 5th, the Lakeside residents met with Skip and myself and some engineers I think it was probably more than 30, maybe 40, I don't know how many were there, June, that you know of, to talk about the studies that we completed on Lakeside. We received a lot of great resident feedback, and we don't have a long-term solution yet, but we did share and had the technical engineers visit with residents and talk about some of the concerns that we have there. Since that meeting, we've gotten a lot of resident feedback to ask, why we've let that space go a little bit unkept. So in this last couple of weeks, we have been making sure that grass is cut down. We've also removed the bridge that's in the back there, and we're putting up some other type of rock and riprap to kind of secure the shoreline on a temporary basis. We've also taken away the caution tape and the blockade, and we're going to be putting up some small, looks a little bit better fencing, so because we know that it's going to take a little while before we get to a solution there. But we are continuing to move forward. We are continuing to collaborate with the folks in Lakeside. The next step there is to get 2 local contractors to give us some bids, and we're looking at hopefully 2 options. One will be, do we put everything back in that's there, so continue the status quo, or do we look at a different option where it doesn't go back there, but maybe we shift the resources over to the other side of the water. So those are the 2 options that we are thinking through right now. We don't know what the difference is in cost between those 2, so that'll be a key factor as we move forward before any decision is made. But we will be visiting again with the Lakeside folks to talk through, once we've received those estimates, what are we going to recommend moving forward. Keep moving along, please. Hooksmith Sidewalk. We're still waiting on Duke Power, no news there. But we do still plan to do that project once we get the approval. For folks that weren't here before, our main primary Duke Power line is underneath that sidewalk there. Before we tear out anything, we don't want to cause a significant issue. So we are kind of in a holding pattern there. The Village Green Courtyard, I think this is a pretty neat project, one I've been pretty involved with. We do have a resident subcommittee that continues to meet. In the last few weeks, we've added a couple of concrete patios. We've added 4 plinths. Actually, I misspelled it there, P-L-I-N-T-H-S. They're little small kind of little square boxes, you could say, to elevate some new planters that we've purchased for that space. We also have a landscape architect that collaborated with this subcommittee back in May, and we'll be revisiting with that landscape architect tomorrow to talk through some of the ideas. And we invited the landscape architect out to help us think about that structure that we know we need to replace. What should that look like? We did a little survey with the help of Jim Van Sennis of some of the residents to say, hey, what do folks like to see in that space? So that's going to be tomorrow. We get feedback from the landscape architects and then figure out what we want to do from there. But the Village Green Courtyard, it's a pretty special place. If you have not been there, walk through there. It's really pretty special. I walked through Lucas yesterday, the guy with the beard, and he said, never knew this place was here. And you could just really get a neat sense. And I told him, yeah, we've got squirrels and rabbits and chipmunks and birds and butterflies. It's a really pretty special place. The Village Green lobby furniture, we did have that delivered. It's not all in, and we do still have more work to do with the furniture, with the walls, and also with some of the floor coverings in some of those spaces. So that was a long overdue project as well that finally got here. And then last slide before I open up for some questions. Wanted to say thank you to the many residents that are, some of them are here in this room, that participated in our branding refresh. So Sage Age is our advertising marketing firm, came in from Kansas City. Was it last week?
Yes.
I think it was last week. They came in last week, and we really embrace, when we look at our branding and look at our marketing materials, helping people see real people that live here. So we don't like to use just stock photography, and we like to use our spaces as well. So we are going to have a refresh of our website coming up this fall, but we're also doing a full refresh of just the branding of Rolling Green Village. So that takes quite a bit of time, a lot of energy, and just appreciate residents who were very active and open and flexible to participate in that experience. And I heard a lot of great things. Some of the residents said these people were a lot friendlier, they're more fun than the last group, because we do this once every 2 to 3 years. And the folks that were here from Sage Age outside of Kansas City, they were also very complimentary. They just said how great the residents were, and they really enjoyed their time. So, again, I want to thank you all for that time spent volunteering, being flexible with your timing. I understand we put together a schedule and they pretty much ripped it up because the lighting wasn't right. So everybody had to kind of switch around and change because the lighting and the timing that we had was not what they preferred. But it's a great opportunity, like I said, once every couple of years to refresh and make sure that website, that digital presence, which so many people use as that first touch point for us, really does reflect, who we are, and we love to utilize residents that live here. So that was all that I had. It's 3:51. What questions do you all have? You want to talk about the swimming pool since you got the mic?
Not particularly, but see, he throws me under the bus and I hadn't even said anything yet.
I haven't talked about trees yet.
Okay, that's coming. Just a minute. I know the swimming pool is very important to everyone here that uses it, as it is to us.
A little closer.
Okay, is this better? I was trying to get it so you thought you heard what I was saying. But when we got into that, and I don't mean to repeat myself, but I want y'all to understand, when we got into that, we had just planned on redoing the pool. But the pool's been open to Ryan's Point 12 years. And we went in there and started looking at issues that were other issues that were being identified. Sprinkler systems had not been inspected like they're supposed to be. The rusting, the ceiling, the beams, the varnish is coming off. If you look at the bolts on the beams are rusting. There's some other places in there. The pump systems, those kind of things have been in place. The electrical, the HVAC. So we realized that we were going to have to look at it all at one time, because what we didn't want to do is come in and just fix a pool, and then 3 years down the road we've got an issue, and now we've got to drain the pool, and we're setting up scaffolding over a pool that we just renovated. So we're doing it right. They're going to set scaffolding up there. So I'm sure y'all seen on TV, you've been up in New York and those big cities where they got scaffolding around the building. Well, basically what you're going to see inside that pool is it's going to cover everything inside the pool. First thing they're going to do is drain the pool, then the scaffolding come in and set up so they can access every point in the ceiling, all the HVAC systems, all the beams and everything else. And then the electrical, the HVAC, and the sprinkler company will be able to work on that. Once they get done, then the painter goes in there and starts at the top and starts working on the, polishing off the metal and varnishing the beams and the ceilings and working their way down. So you can tell we'll be getting, when all the scaffolding comes out, then the pool people come in and they'll start working on the pool. The deck's going to be completely redone. The pool's going to have a whole new finish on the inside. They'll chip all that out. They have new lighting, the pump system. So basically, when we walk back in there, it'll be a brand new pool, actually better than when we opened it in 2012. So that's sort of the process, and we have to follow a certain procedure in there. So any questions on that part? I'm trying to avoid the obvious question. Yes, ma'am.
I keep visualizing like the painter it would take a designer or an architect or something, but some geometric pattern designs on the walls and just so that it doesn't look block. Something interesting.
Yeah, it's a good point. We've had that expressed, and we are looking at that, but that would be after we got the walls done. So we would get all the walls, all that painted, and then similar to what was done in the walkway with the mural. We don't know what that's going to look like. We don't want a 8x10 of Ryan up there, so when you go through it, you picture of Ryan looking at you. So we've sort of got to decide what we want. That's where we get some input from y'all, whether it's a beach scene or something else that's inviting. Because you're right, we want, when you walk into there, we don't want you to see a pool. We want you to see a whole series of things.
Who has the next question? It doesn't have to be for Skip. It can be in general. Thank you, Skip, for giving an update.
I'll ask Skip this. The pool is beautiful, and from a non-professional point of view, it's been lovely. You walk into the pool area, it's so nice and warm and comfortable. As soon as you walk out of the pool, the hallway, it's freezing cold.
I thought I'd heard through this too that maybe we had a little too warm in there from some of the folks that came in. A couple degrees we've been working above what's recommended, so that probably factors into it as well.
Well, you can look at it. You realize that the air temperature has to be warmer than the pool temperature. Because if it's not, then that's why you get condensation. Anytime you see condensation on the windows, that means the air temperature in there is cooler than the water temperature. And that's what's causing that. But to your point, yes, you're walking right out. But keep in mind, you got an exercise group that's in there working out on cardio and doing things like that, and they want to be cool. And we had that hot, then, so it's sort of a two-edged sword there. Who's next?
We've had a lot of condensation issues in there, though, right?
Yeah.
And I think they've been resolved.
Yes.
I have two comments to make. I would like to thank Ryan for all the work that he does for this area, for our home here at Rolling Green. He keeps on top of everything that's going on, and it's amazing how he does it.
Thank you for thinking me, Pat, but I have to come back to the team that's here. This place has amazing people that work here. I'm just one, but they're great people to work with, so thank you.
That comes to my next question.
Go ahead.
Who decides who gets the Employee of the Month?
The Employee of the Month is voted on, there's recommendations from staff members, and also then it goes to the department head team, and within the department head team, our HR director compiles all those recommendations each month, and then it's voted on by the department head folks that are in that group, and then one person is selected. So HR is the key person that does all of this, and then we learn who that is, and then we recognize them.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. If you'd like to recommend someone, you're welcome to. It doesn't have to come from a staff member. It can come from a resident to say, I'd like to have this person recognized. You can give that to any of the department heads and or human resources, Teresa Watkins. Go ahead, Mary.
I've mentioned this before, but since the pool is going to be redone, I'm wondering about the possibility of making the door exiting the pool easier to open. It's extremely heavy.
Okay, that's a good question. Skip, is there any code issues?
I need to look that up. There are some code issues, but I'll have to see what they are. But there may be some workarounds, so let's look into that. Somebody over here somewhere.
So I know, like, some of the doors, I've gotten feedback from doors, particularly about the Creative Arts Studio, that we have two doors that go the same way. And Skip shared with me that that's actually a fire code thing too. If there were a fire, you have to be able to exit out a certain way and have the door go a certain way versus pulling a door into that setting. So, but one of the remedies would be one of the buttons to use. They are, I don't know, is it $4,000 or $5,000 a piece to put one of those buttons on. So we don't put them everywhere because they're not cheap, but in some cases we can for those high traffic areas. Next question.
Ryan, I got to ask, there's plans for two locations for pickleball? Is it down at one location or two locations?
We are still planning for the temporary pickleball court to go in the back area here, in the grassy area. We'd wanted to go at the permanent location, but because of the construction focus, they recommended not to do that, to invest in that space. I talked about a little bit earlier today, we've had a lot of discussion around that, and I felt that we should try to move that project up from the end of the project for phase 2 to the beginning, and that would have us put it here. So right now we're hopeful to start construction at the latest time frame would be in November 15th, based upon county approvals. So it had to be a part of the whole major project. There'd be 2 pickleball courts and 2 bocce ball courts.
And that's November 15th of 25.
No, 24 is when we could start construction there. But we still have a lot more work to do as far as determining. We have to wait for approval, but we are going to start to look at what needs to be done and what kind of contractors can provide us bids. But yeah, 2024 is when we would start that. Next question.
I know that you've been talking about adding 200 more people to this place, but we are in desperate need of more parking in this area, and also a bigger bus that will not fall down and break up and stuff like that. So we need, a bus has been having problems, and we've got more people here now than when we, started with that bus.
You're right. I do see us eventually getting rid of the bigger bus, but we need to get the smaller bus first that we purchased. Amy got a recent update. I thought she might have shared that with you all. That we're looking at, I think it's August, September of this year. So I think she shared that the last time we got together. But I do see us shifting away from the big bus because it requires a CDL, and getting a fleet, you could say, of 3 different smaller buses. We could then rent a bigger bus if we had to use it. But we need to get the first one first and then work on the next. So, we do recognize as you bring more residents here, how is that going to work? Parking, we talked a little bit about earlier this week. When we add residences, there's a code requirement. The number of people that you add would also require a number of spaces. With the proposed G building, it would actually have parking underground because we did not have the surface area. Amy with SFCS talked about this, the surface area to provide the right number of spaces. And we also had to find balance with parking and compared to green spaces, not having everything be concrete and making sure that that flows and we keep our integrity of rolling green village. So we do know that parking is going to be an issue back here in the wellness area with this construction. We will be adding some additional parking back here. We will be shifting staff parking from right here over. There are quite a few spots back towards the wood shop and towards the back part of this area. And then we do still have plenty of spots out front in the commons. They're the furthest away. That's where we need to make sure staff are parking furthest away and freeing up the closer spaces for residents and visitors. But we do feel that we have a good parking plan. It's just parking is where you want to park. Everybody wants to park in that closest spot, and it's not always going to happen. And it's going to be a constant discussion. You can never have enough parking where I want to park, unless you have your own garage.
Speaking about parking, if you're going to put pickleball and bocce out there, you're going to need more parking spaces out there.
And that's where we do have parking that's back here, and we will eventually be adding some parking once they block off. There's going to be some gravel area, there's going to be some temporary parking back there.
Where you're talking about pickleball and bocce, is that not the same place?
It's in the grass area. So there's an ability for us to add some spaces here. But there's also going to be parking right outside of that space by the raised garden beds that we need to shift staff from there further out.
Also, somebody was mentioning people that go there to the rehab, they can't park a long way from where all those park. Have you ever considered a shuttle at certain times or at some way for people who really can't walk to get into their physical therapy from a long way away?
Yeah, I think that's definitely something we should think about and look into.
Yeah.
And the wellness spaces being far away, we know that's an issue. We would prefer it not be that far away. One of the reasons why we want to move Cedars closer over here is so then the folks from Cedars who are starting to experience a little bit of decline can maintain and work through that. There's not been a lot of opportunity for them because it's so far for them. So that's one of the key reasons to move assisted living over there, in addition to being closer to the kitchen and having emergency power. But you're right, the space is going to be limited. It's not going to be ideal. We need to think through some of those things as we move forward. I agree.
Also, there are a couple of parking spaces in the front that are not used at all. I heard they were originally for golf carts, so they're too far for that. Can they not change those into regular parking places? Because with more people, you're not going to have enough places out there.
Yeah, and we do have that internal circle with golf cart parking. It's not used as much.
It's not used at all.
Yeah. It's used a little bit. I park outside of that. There's maybe one, every once in a while two. Yep. And these are some of the things that as we learn through developing and planning, we planned for this. We believed that if you built it, they would come. Well, they didn't come to park there. So we do need to kind of step back and reevaluate and see what can be done. There's going to be some cost involved with that, but we do need to think about that as we move forward. If it does sit empty like that, we can rethink it. Every year we have a capital expenditure budget that we can use for some of those types of things.
Well, right now, before you have all these new people, I've been over there without a place to park, and I can't walk from home.
There's parking, there's just not parking where you would prefer.
No, I mean, there's been no place in the front there, except for those empty golf cart parking.
Are you talking about the village center here, or are you talking about the commons?
The village center here.
The village center here, okay. There are going to be some times that there's events and things like this where a large number of people are coming where it's going to get tight. We don't anticipate, having some of these events are going to slow down from marketing, and I think it's gonna free some of it up. But yes, we have to continue to monitor where staff is parking and make sure that we're freeing up as many spaces as we can. When we do eventually tear down Cedars Assisted Living, that will also provide us with an opportunity for some space if we want to add some parking, and that is adjacent to this space. It also frees us up to potentially address healthcare down the road and those wellness pieces, as we know we want to move wellness from there closer to the apartments, and the accessibility is much better in that space. So one of the other reasons through this growth that it's going to benefit us and set us up moving forward for some new decisions. Next question.
Any update on what's happening on Trail Oaks? That looks like there's been a zoning change or something there. Is that any impact on Rolling Green Village?
I don't have an update to share. I know Skip was gonna try to sit in. We still understand that proposal, the proposed project, wants to move forward. Skip's feedback was they were thinking about having a second exit. Is that right?
That's what I'm anticipating. I've been trading phone messages with zoning on what that's for, but my guess is there's a gas line that runs right along parallel there that feeds and comes and then goes down behind the ball field in that area. So they can't build on it. They can build a road across it. So my guess is that was part of the problem in that 55 and older community was how they were going to get out. There was going to be one on Roper Mountain and one on Snipes. So I'm thinking it would make more sense if they come out the backside and come there and come on to Snipes on that side as opposed to further down there by the traffic light. But as soon as I find out, I'll get the word to Ryan once I'm able to connect to verify.
No, ultimately we do think that is not a significant competitor to us. That housing type of setup is going to be different. It's going to be rental based. It is going to increase some traffic. There's not a significant amount that we can do to change those plans unless we were to buy that property, but we don't see a need for that. But we will keep an eye out for it. Next question. One over here too, Skip.
I'm sure you're probably aware, but just for the benefit of the group, on Tuesday, a group of us went in the bus with Stan Hamilton to the spectacular Gorge, Georgia Aquarium. Everything went great all day long. We found each other again at the end of the day amid millions of people in the aquarium, I think. About a third of the way back, we made a pit stop, and Stan said, I thought it would be a good idea to stop. So we tried to put some air in the right rear tire. Well, that wasn't really working, so in the space of maybe a little over an hour, he got us to a tire place, found and bought the last tire because the tire had a hole in it and would not hold air. Found a mechanic that would come with a jack that would elevate the bus. Well, we found a wonderful Subway in Walmart across the street and had something to eat, but I can't help but think he very likely saved our lives by paying attention to something that didn't feel right driving the bus. Thank you, Sam.
I have to admit, I did not know about that, Pat. I did not know about that at all. I do know that Stan is a really great guy, extremely dedicated to what we do. And I can see him figuring a way to do that, keeping that focus. Somebody like Stan, who you could say is kind of in his second career, those are amazing employees, and he'll do anything here, from helping with shredding downstairs to the donation room to helping to serve meals to anything he can do to help us is pretty special. So there were some residents that said, hey, why don't we have him get his CDL? So we've started that conversation with him to see if he'd like to do that, to invest in him to potentially help us driving that bigger bus since Carl had left. But that's really great. I want to recognize him, so thank you for sharing that.
Yep.
Next question.
Yes, we received.
Hold it closer. Yep.
Okay. We received a message in our boxes for residents from A to D buildings about the furniture not all being delivered yet and things needing to be done. They're in the process, and that's fine. But we do have something here that says not to put any personal magazines, calendars, knickknacks, etc. in the lobbies, that they will be thrown away. And we have residents here who do put things there occasionally. Knickknacks I can understand, but calendars and magazines, I mean, some of us look forward to that, and we do utilize them, and we share them. It's a sharing of information and education and different things, and this is part of our community spirit for the residents here who live in independent living in those buildings. And I was wondering, is this something that's temporary while they're doing the renovations in the lobbies, or is this an edict that they just want to take away from our sharing of this stuff?
Yeah, I think that's a really great point. I received that feedback yesterday in an email from a resident, and then also again this morning. When we bring in new furniture, it's been long overdue, the new furniture coming in that space. And as we have a plan for what we envision for that space, we want to try to stick to that plan and find balance, in recognizing it's residents' homes. So I think we can figure out somewhere in between with that request, finding a space where those things can still be. But we do want to get away from having residents moving furniture after we've set it out permanently, or taking a piece of artwork down, putting up their own piece of artwork without that discussion with us. There needs to be the recognition of that we may be able to do some of those things, but we can't just put things up and take things down or move things permanently. We can temporarily move furniture to create community, but then we need to put it back to where that is. And then as we get this new furniture, we will have to work through that. I do hear what you're saying. We need to have opportunities for that information to be shared.
Well, yes, but I'm just talking about laying magazines on the
Correct.
tables that are there next to the chairs. We look at that, and sometimes we want to sit and read a magazine or whatever.
And that's where I think we can visit. We just don't want that on every single surface. We want to keep some things open and clear, and I think we can find some spots to do that. So yes, I think we can also do some of that. We'll find a middle ground there. Next question. Skip, there was one over here. I think Jimmy had.
I just wanted to check. In front of this building, the curbing is getting to be a regular disaster. The pieces are all coming out. I just wonder, is it a plan to recurb the area in the front of this building?
We don't have a definite plan to do that right now. We do have plans for looking at resurfacing. That one area I know you're talking about, we do have moving trucks that keep hitting it and it kind of breaks apart. So we do need to come up with a contingency plan, but we do not have a plan to recurb the entire parking lot at this point in time, but we can do some patching for the short term.
Ryan, I just want to make sure I understand. You were saying earlier Rolling Green is going to spend $4 million before a shovel is even put down?
Well, there is would be 5.5 would be the total amount. Yes.
Before, so if you for some reason don't get your 70%, that money is shelved, is gone.
That money, you're correct. If we decide to stop the project, that money would then be incurred as an expense for us. That money is put towards the development team to do all of the study that we've had, the design team, the construction. So it's all of these pieces. There's a lot of work that's done. As you met the architects this week, they've been working for a year, so they're putting all the plans together. The construction team is also doing those things. So yeah, to get us up to that construction point, that would be $5.5 million that's spent. The other piece to think about is we're not taking out a $140 million loan all at first. You're taking it out in steps, in segments. So until we get to that end of next year, we'll then determine if we're going to take out that big loan. So it is a way of keeping risk small, but you're right, it is still a risk. Next question?
Yes, I just wanted to say back to our magazines, couldn't you have just one designated table in each lobby that we could put things, and maybe it would be a little messy, but we all have a little messy in our house.
That's the type of thing, yeah, that's the type of thing I think we need to just discuss.
Maybe we could, as we go through, everybody could straighten it up or check the magazines and see if they need to be fixed. But just have one place, because it's nice to share those things.
And that's the type of thing that I'm envisioning. We just haven't gotten into the detail of that yet. We're still waiting for everything to get set up to determine what the best spot is. So, can we do one more question, because we're getting at 4:17.
Ryan, I'd like to add to what has been said here. This is representative of a lot of people that live in the apartments, not just 2 or 3 people. They've been talking among each other about not being able to put anything on the tables. I wanted to add 2 things. The third bullet line on the sheet that was sent out, and I don't know that you even get that, but if you don't, you need to in the future from any department. The third bullet said that things that were there now would be thrown away. We have people that check that every single night and take the magazines off that are not appropriate or keep it down to a couple of ones. It always looks neat. It always looks nice. We do not want things thrown away because that's just destroying this caring for each other that we're trying to do here. This is our home. This is not the empty lobby at the Commons, which we know needs to look very inviting and welcoming. But this is our home when we get into the apartment lobbies. And we feel very marginalized to not be able to have something as simple as a couple of magazines out on the table.
Okay. I hear what you're saying. Yeah, I think it could have been worded differently. Does my home there have magazines? Bare of magazines. Target magazines for a while were always around, and I do throw those out when I see them. My wife loves Target, so when I see them, I do try to get rid of them. When I hear she's been to Target, I kind of cringe. You're right. You're right, and we have to find a balance, not having everybody decorated and make those decisions. So it is definitely going to be a continued collaboration. We appreciate your time. Thanks for being here.